In today's video, I'm going to be sharing some marketing tips for very early stage startups, and I'm just going to be sharing with you some things that worked for the Unicorn Factory in the very early days. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Connor, and on this channel I make a whole bunch of videos on how you can start your own online business using no-code tools like Webflow, Airtable, and Zapier. But in today's video, I'm not going to be talking about no-code. In this video, I am going to be talking about some marketing activities that I did for the Unicorn Factory, my startup, in the very early days that really moved the needle when it came to finding new customers and finding new freelancers. Now, just for a little bit of context, before I started the Unicorn Factory, I did not have grand plans for it. It was mostly a way for me to have my own freelancer marketing website, and also I wanted to hone some of my own Webflow skills, and I thought, hey, this would be a fun project to work on. So in the lead up to it, I didn't do a lot of research into my different customer types, my different freelancer types, and I had no plans on using paid advertising to attract different clients to the platform. Ever since then, a lot of things have changed, and I'm going to be giving you a few little updates on where things are now, but I want to specifically focus on some of the things that I did in the very early days, because I oftentimes hear that people kind of struggle to build momentum for their startup, and I just wanted to share some things that really work for the Unicorn Factory to hopefully inspire you to go out there and try it yourself. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and also if you want me to make more videos like this talking about different things that I did with the Unicorn Factory to get it to where it is now, then also please hit the like button. That kind of lets me know that you're interested in this type of stuff. And then the last thing that I want to ask before we get into point number one is, if you are currently working on a startup or on a side hustle, then let me know in the comments down below. I'll be super keen to see what it is that you're working on. But without further ado, let's just get into the video. So the first thing that really worked out for the Unicorn Factory was just being in the right place at the right time. Now, I know that that sounds like a cliche, but it really did make a huge difference for the Unicorn Factory. So when I started the Unicorn Factory, I worked in the Biz Dojo, which was a co-working space in New Zealand that was pretty massive. They had a huge network of co-working spaces all over the country, and inside of that co-working space were a whole bunch of freelancers and a whole bunch of small, medium-sized businesses that have over time turned out to be the main customer type that uses the Unicorn Factory to hire freelancers. So one of the things that was really great about working in that particular co-working space was that community was one of the things that they put right to the very top, which meant there were a whole bunch of events on, and they also really just networked everyone together really well. So as soon as the actual people that worked in the Biz Dojo knew what you were working on, they'd just connect you with people inside of the space. So that made things very easy when it came to me finding my first few freelancers. So after I launched it, I basically got connected to some people who were freelancing in the space. I was obviously friends with a lot of them as well. So that allowed me at least to get to the point where I had enough freelancers on the website so I could actually start promoting it to different businesses. Being in the Biz Dojo was also really good for finding clients. So at the time we had this face wall in there where you basically had a picture of all the different residents with their kind of area of expertise. And because I was working on a startup at the time and we were working on apps, for some reason people thought that I was kind of an expert in app making. So a lot of people would approach us for potential work. So because we had a team of people working on the app that I was working on at the time, we kind of just started working on these types of projects just to fund our startup. This kind of continued for a while, and I got a whole bunch of clients just through being in that space, and those clients later on would then also use the Unicorn Factory. So if someone would approach me for work that I couldn't do, I'd just start referring that work to freelancers who were on the website at the time, and that was kind of how I got the ball rolling with creating those transactions between freelancers and clients. So I think the key thing that really was important in the very early stage of starting the Unicorn Factory was just that I had the opportunity to connect with people in person. Now, obviously working from a co-working space is incredibly expensive, and at the time I was actually a sponsored resident. There was no chance that I could have afforded to actually work from that space, but luckily the people that owned the place liked me and they were very nice to me, so I got to work from there. But if you are in a position where you can't afford to work from a co-working space and to build your network that way, then what I recommend doing is potentially trying to set up something like a meetup or some sorts of events and then host it inside of those different co-working spaces or other event spaces, because that will give you an opportunity to meet your customers and your suppliers in person, and that just makes it a lot easier to build momentum. Now, I touched on exactly this in a previous video where I explained how Uber finds its drivers when it starts in a new city. I'll link that video above. And so I think that if you don't have any ideas of where to start, just creating an opportunity to go where your potential customers are, or to create a place where you can bring them all together, is just the perfect place to start. And oftentimes, if it is something that a co-working space or certain event space can benefit from, then oftentimes they'll give it to you for free. For example, when I started the Webflow meetup, the co-working space that I hosted those events in were willing to do it for free. So that is always a really good place to start. So that basically got the ball rolling. That worked really well for a while. Whenever I had an opportunity to tell people about the Unicorn Factory, I would. But then the next thing that I did that really moved the needle people was posting about the Unicorn Factory in a Facebook group in New Zealand called the NZ Tech Startup Ecosystem. Now, the NZ Tech Startup Ecosystem Facebook group is basically the go-to place to discuss tech-related things, startup-related things with other New Zealanders, and so a whole bunch of people are on there, and one day I just decided that I wanted to tell people what I was working on with the Unicorn Factory, so I crafted a little post and put it in there. Now, posting it to that Facebook group was something that took me a lot longer than it should have. At the time, I was fighting with imposter syndrome a bit, and I kind of felt like my platform wasn't quite at the right place, and there were a whole bunch of reasons that I was coming up with not to post in the group. Eventually, I just got to the point where I said, you know, what is the worst that can happen? And there were also a whole bunch of people who have been very encouraging, and I was kind of figuring, you know what, if I get one client out of this for a freelance on the site, then, you know, job done, that's like a good outcome. So I crafted a little post, I got a nice image of the actual directory, and I posted it to the group. So that particular post did incredibly well. So as soon as it went out there, I just started getting all of these people signing up to be freelancers on the Unicorn Factory. It was far beyond anything that I could have expected. I also started getting a whole bunch of freelancer inquiries, which was also absolutely amazing, and I was just absolutely stoked with the outcome. I'll probably say the one thing that I regret about it was that I didn't post to that actual group sooner. I mean, obviously there'll always be some things that you can fix, but if you are doing something that helps people out, then you are going to get traction with it. And if you don't, I mean, who cares? It's going to disappear from the newsfeed within like a day, and no one was hurt in the process. So I'll probably say out of all the different things that I've done for the Unicorn Factory, that has probably been the one that has moved the needle the most in terms of finding new freelancers and also finding clients for the site. Now, as soon as you get to the point where you grow from say 8 freelancers to 60, network effects start to kick in, and that really just helps with attracting more freelancers to the site and more clients. So even after that initial post, I still used that group to promote the Unicorn Factory, because one of the main ways that that Facebook group is used is a lot of startups and a lot of businesses actually post jobs on there to find talent. And so what I would do is when someone would be looking for say a graphic designer or a web developer or whatever it is that they were looking for, I would actually just link the landing page for that particular service or skill as a comment to that particular post, and that really led to us getting a lot of work, a lot of job postings, and that was just a really great resource for me to really just build on top of the traction that I had gotten from that initial post. So after all of that, things were going quite smoothly. SEO started to kick in, which also contributed to us getting more freelancers to sign up. It also helped us get more clients, and it kind of got to the point where it was turning into a little bit of an admin nightmare. I wasn't that versed with Zapier at the time, so I still had to do a lot of things myself. So one of the things that I decided to do in order to manage that workload a bit more is to start charging the freelancers to be on the site. Now, I didn't really have any commercial plans for the site at the time. At the time, I was also still working in that co-working space that I was getting for free, so I kind of felt a bit stink about charging people to be on the site, given that I was being sponsored to be in that co-working space. But I kind of figured, you know what, if people do want to pay for it, then I should at least give them the option. So I started to charge them $10 a month for a premium plan, and that would basically get them onto the front page of the directory. And to be completely honest, I didn't really expect anyone to upgrade their plan, but little did I know that as soon as I put it out there, a whole bunch of people started upgrading to the paid plan, and that suddenly led to me having money that I could spend on advertising. Now, I think after about 3 months, I got up to about $200 in monthly recurring revenue, and at the time I was making enough money that I didn't really need the money, so I just decided to reinvest all of that money into paid advertising. And because it is quite a finite budget, I had to kind of pick and choose what I spent my marketing dollars on, and having come from a Facebook advertising background, I kind of figured that the lowest hanging fruit would just be to run a retargeting campaign at people who had visited the website but not contacted any of the freelancers. So if you don't know what retargeting is, it's basically something that you can do on Facebook and on Google, where you basically see what certain people are doing on your website, and based on certain types of actions that they take, you show them very specific ads. Now, my retargeting wasn't super sophisticated. My rule was basically that if a user visited a certain profile page or they visited a certain service page, I would just show them ads for the Unicorn Factory in Facebook, and that worked quite well. So the main reason why it worked very well was because a lot of clients that use the Unicorn Factory kind of need to process the information a few times before they actually end up making a decision, because hiring someone and spending a few $1,000s on a freelancer is a reasonably big decision. So just being able to remind them that they visited the site and basically drive them back to the site so they can continue their journey of researching different freelancers really helped getting them them to the point where they would just reach out to different types of freelancers, and that made a huge difference in terms of getting work consistently for all the different freelancers. Another fantastic side effect that running those retargeting campaigns had was that these clients, besides just reaching out to different freelancers directly, also started posting more jobs to our job board. Now, being introduced to the different clients who post to our job board was part of the paid feature, which meant that as soon as these clients started posting these jobs, a lot of the freelancers who were on the free plan started to get incentivized to actually upgrade to the paid plan and then request an introduction to that particular client. That just led to a huge increase in people paying to be on the platform. That allowed me to then spend more money on our advertising, which then in turn led to more jobs being posted to our job board, which then in turn again led to more people upgrading their accounts. And that was something that really just started to happen on autopilot, and that until today is something that just works very, very well for us. So with that increase in monthly recurring revenue, I decided to invest that money into a few other paid advertising strategies, and we tried a lot of different things. Some things worked, some things didn't work. I'll probably say the thing that had the biggest impact just in terms of getting new clients was using Google search ads to basically attract them to our site. Now, the good thing about Google search ads is when people are Googling for specific things, they're already quite far in the decision-making process, and their intent to actually take action is quite high. So one thing that I just noticed very early on was, even though it cost us a little bit more to actually get them to the site, they would convert a lot faster than when they came through, say, Facebook, and that just meant that we could get inquiries, job postings at a lot more of a cost-effective rate than we were getting them through other types of campaigns that would run through Facebook. So one thing that I want to say about paid advertising is that paid advertising will basically do the same thing that organic marketing, like social media marketing or posting into Facebook groups, will do, but it will just do it a lot faster. So I would highly recommend that if you are making money off your platform, however much it is, just reinvest it back into paid advertising, because that will allow you to just grow your supplier base a lot faster. It will allow you to attract more customers to your site, and it will get to the point where you'll start making enough money that you don't have to reinvest a whole lot into growing your business. You can kind of spend a little bit on, for example, contractors or yourself, and that's kind of the process that I went through with the Unicorn Factory. Now, I never ended up spending any money of my own on the paid advertising. I just used all of the revenue that I was making through the site, and so this is not something that you can only do if you have a huge budget for ads. Just use the money that you get through your site, and if you don't get money for your site, then just keep focusing on all the organic stuff. Now, the last thing that made a huge difference in terms of getting more freelancers to sign up, but also getting more customers to use the platform, was just having really great freelancers on the site who would deliver fantastic work. When I started the Unicorn Factory, I wanted to give people the same opportunities that I was given by being able to work in that co-working space for free. So I wanted it to be open to everyone, but I wanted to make sure that they were serious about freelancing. So I didn't really care about how experienced you were, so I allowed people who were just getting into freelancing to join the site. I also had very senior people on the site. The thing that was most important to me was that you put in a lot of effort in creating a good application to be on the site. That meant having a good bio, having a very professional picture that you could use, adding good case studies. And if you ticked all those boxes and you were a good representative of the community, then I would add you to the platform. Now, honestly, the thing that I was most worried about was a freelancer joining the site, not being super serious about it, not responding to inquiries by different clients, and therefore making everyone else on the platform look bad or making the platform look unprofessional. So I was always very diligent about making sure that the people were actually really in it to be freelancers, and as a result of that, the client experience just was a lot better. So after a while, I would start getting emails from different clients who would tell me how great of an experience they had hiring whatever person it was, but I would also get emails from clients telling me how great the experience was from someone who actually told them that were unavailable for work. So one thing that they would do is, for example, apologize to the client for not being available and then refer them to someone on the platform who they thought would be a good alternative. And that kind of standard allowed us to, one, have a lot more of those freelance clients coming back afterwards, but then they'd also start referring the actual platform to other businesses, and that just led to a significant amount of growth on the client side. So my recommendation to you, if you are working on a marketplace, is to make sure that you have very good suppliers on your site, and make sure that they are presented well on your website as well, because that experience that a client client has the first time they visit your website makes a huge difference in terms of getting work and then in terms of getting retention and referrals. So the final words I have on this video is, at the end of the day, there are a whole bunch of different things that you can do for your business to grow it at different stages. My recommendation is just to try different things. When I did the whole thing with the Facebook group, I didn't know that it was going to work. It was just something that just happened to work out. So if you don't try different things, you'll never find out if it works or not. And now the last thing that I would say is, when you get to the point where you have a certain amount of traction, where you start delivering value to the market, then think about using paid advertising to accelerate that process. Now, I'll probably recommend not skipping the organic side of things, because you really want to figure out first if you are actually delivering value to the market. Because if you start investing into paid advertising and you don't actually know if people are going to use your site or not, then yes, you are going to lose your money because people don't see the value that you're delivering. But if you go through that process of doing it all organically in person, or posting into different types of Facebook groups or wherever else you may put it, then you'll at least see if people are interested, if you are actually delivering value to different people in the market. And if you have certainty on that, then using paid advertising will really help out. But that's it. I thought this was going to be a video on 5 quick tips on how to get traction for your early stage startup, but look at that, it's turned out to be the life story of the Unicorn Factory. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like on this video, leave a comment if you have any questions. Other than that, I'll see you back here for the next one.